Paintball nerd.
Today's guest on Paintball Nerd started playing paintball in 1994. In 1998, he turned pro with Crush. He's also played with Ohio Black Rain, the All-Americans, Brimstone Smoke, Bad Company. He's the voice of Traumahead Sportz. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mr. Danny Manning.
Right on,
Welcome.
man. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Happy to have you on.
Nice, man. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, I'm pretty
So-
stoked about it.
Yeah, man. So, Danny, how did you become the voice of Traumahead Sportz?
Oh, man. My friend Jeff. Jeff Gallatin is Traumahead Sportz. I'm just the background guy. But we decided that we were going to do something and kind of make some, I don't know how to, we wanted to bring paintball that people could see in their house, basically. Everybody said paint ESPN and that thing. It was a little different because it it didn't really show how paintball was and how it could be. Plus, it was different format of paintball then, It was in the woods. The mounds were just coming, the only thing basically that you could play outside of. And so it made for some good videos. And I thought, and Jeff did as well. I mean, it was both of us coming together to say, let's go. We'll put a team of guys out there. We'll try to do something. It was basically touch and go, or, trial and error. We'd see what worked a little bit. We'd change something around. He'd come up with a new formula, and then we'd go from there. Mainstream paintball wasn't anything that you could see, I think, on television.
Well, I mean, that was mainstream paintball for everyone that was growing up in, the late 90s, early 2000s. That was the ticket there. The Iron City Open. I remember I watched that thing till it died.
Right. So I think a lot of people didn't understand then too. We wanted to play paintball. We wanted amateur teams and people that played that weren't in the magazines back then, because that's the only thing you could buy. You waited every week, every month. You couldn't wait for the new magazine to come out so you could get it. You'd see those big Smart Part ads, those Bad Boys Toys ads, man, they made your mouth water. But very seldom did you get to see anything about amateur style paintball. You saw all your heroes in there, or all the people that basically your heroes became your opponents. You know what I mean? You wanted to be those guys. And so if we made amateur teams and we videoed them, I always thought that they were the next level of pros. And pro paintball got a lot of attention through magazines. And up until that time, an amateur kid or an amateur player could not go to a magazine store and have a good chance of being in there. If they were,
True.
they posterized themselves. You understand? They took that, they showed all their friends. For them to be able to come to an event and buy a video that they actually played in the previous event and have a great chance of maybe not every time being in it, but a good chance of seeing them on the opening clip. The intro of every one of them, I thought was super cool. If we just actually made a DVD of all the intro videos, I think it would be amazing. But that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to bring something to somebody could come to that event and buy, take back to their town or their house, put it in, and show everybody that had no idea what he was doing when he told them he was going to a paintball tournament. So basically, that's where we started out, and that's what made it better.
Yeah, I think still to this day, amateur, or we call it divisional today, is not covered the way it should be, unless the players have a social media following on their own. They're not getting a lot of media coverage anywhere else,
Right. And so I was recently talking to somebody in the industry, and we were talking about how the NXL and the pro players are very well covered. Maddie Marshall is basically Mr. Microphone. He knows the teams, he knows the players, he knows a lot of their stats, a lot of what they've gone through up and down. And then you'll get to the semi pros. They'll know some stuff about them, but those guys aren't as well versed and brushed up as, say, maybe where they should be. I think if you're going to do that type of announcing, like even a month or 2 months before, teams should start sending you their background bios, what
Totally.
they're looking to, what they're getting ready to get into, how many people they're looking to pick up, how many people they've lost in the off season, what their plans are. All that makes a difference. And so then when the announcer gets on there, they can take right off. And you're right. When Paintball Fit comes and they destroy everybody in the semi pros and they end up turning pro, a lot of people know their names. They don't always know their victims' names. Do you understand? Those guys would
Yes,
dominate
indeed.
the pros, and there's a lot of light shined on them, or Blast Camp, or anybody else. And so then you start going back down, and they're like D3, D4. Who are those guys? They're the same guys that are paying the money to come and play paintball
That's
and
right.
doing the exact same grind. They're doing everything. They're saving their money up to get there. They're paying for their hotel. They're doing all of that, and they get very little to no coverage. And it's
Right.
not anybody else's fault. There's no way they could have camera crews on every field to see every amateur team play, especially in X ball. But
Yeah.
they could do a lot of research and find some divisional rivalries and things like that and highlight or showcase those and say, hey, this guy's a D4 or D3 player. I know some D1 teams or some D semi pro teams that have been looking at him, and kind of give those guys a chance to get a little light on them, I guess.
I think it certainly do a lot for the sport. You know, like you said, there's a lot of coverage of the pro players, but the guys that are going to the events and making big sacrifices, saving their money, don't get any coverage. And it's kind of like, I guess I kind of look at it like football. College football could be semi-pro. We could do a better job of covering semi-pro, just the way that college football is covered. High school football could be looked at as the lower divisionals. But if you have superstars that are shining, I think it makes sense to put a camera on them, and I think that would inspire a lot of people to play more paintball, knowing that they could get some limelight.
100%. I know guys that I can ask them about pro football. They're not interested. They can tell me
Yeah,
everything about college football. It's like
sure.
those guys try. They put 100% out every time, no matter what. It's their last shot. They're play as hard as they can get. That's exactly how I feel the amateurs are.
Yeah,
And even on the paint line, imagine being an amateur team that's just out there grinding an X ball and shooting tons of paint every tournament. And it's not the
yeah,
fact that they're not winning anything. At the end of the event, they're still paying a giant paint bill. They're still all chipping in on their hotel bill, and they're going home with, you know, the fact that they grinded it out all weekend and played some fun paintball. Do you understand what I mean? There's not a lot of reward for those guys. So I feel like if we get them a little bit more media coverage, or we could somehow showcase those guys, it would just make it a little bit different, man. That's all.
I agree. I agree. The industry does need to cover the pros, and that's what everyone's working towards. But I definitely agree with you. You know, I can't help but think about some sound bites because obviously I used to watch a lot of Traumahead as I was a kid, and my friends and I, we used to set up couch cushions and stuff and play imaginary paintball. And as we play imaginary paintball, we would quote Danny Manning,
I
and
love it. I love it.
there's a there I remember "Take a Walk, Blondie."
Yes,
Uh,
sir. Yes, sir.
that
There's
was
tons of
Max.
Muppets out there.
Max got
Yeah.
shot at the car wash, balling or crawling.
Yes, sir. All the paintball pimp, man. I love it. I love all those. Will Arroyo made me want to do that commercial. So we interviewed him. He did that interview before we even had the paintball pimps, little one that we had. And then I was like, dude, we have to do a paintball pimp commercial. Then I had him come back and do the background on it. And it was nice, man. It took about 30 minutes for us to come up with, but it was kind of cool. That's Traumahead was uh Traumahead was like homegrown, man. Do you understand? Like
Mhm.
Jeff would get a camera, then we would save up and we would do something, and he maybe get another camera, another kind of microphone, or just something. And it was trial and error again, man. We'd be out there, he'd be all padded up, and then realize, yeah, I can't work like this because you can't move around and get all the shots you need. So and then you're burning up. You try going to Orlando or Kissimmee and being all padded up down there. Tough, man, especially if you're out there all day long. And so that's what we were doing. We were getting camera guys. Jeff is always out there. We were getting camera guys from Chicago Film School, you know, and saying, "Hey, you want a weekend gig? You want to get something to put into your portfolio or whatever? Come on out and video some paintball." These cats had no idea what they were getting ready to get into, man. You know, I've had them literally come and tell us when they get to the set and see everything going, like, "Yeah, we're not going to be able to do this, man." So Jeff's scrambling for another camera guys, but he was a hustler, and he knew that he could make something work, and just constantly. And again, with Traumahead, back then it was finance yourself. There wasn't anybody. They loved seeing their guns, their loaders, their sponsorship players, and their things on their jersey. But back then, nobody wanted to say, "Hey, let's give you some sponsorship dollars. We want you to amp it
Yep.
up. Let's get 5 or 6 camera guys. Let's make this Traumahead production something that everybody's going to really like to see, and that we can do some." eh, Like you said earlier, I've never then, from the early 2000s, late 90s, 2000s, I wouldn't even go to a paintball store and they'd be playing it. You'd step
Yeah.
into any paintball store and there was a random Traumahead video playing on there. And then if they hear me talk at events right now, I'll just be on the sidelines talking random crap. And they're like, "Hey man, are you the Traumahead guy? You raised us. You raised us." My mama put a Traumahead video in. We'd sit down on the floor and she could leave or do whatever she wanted and we would never move until the video was over.
100%.
So, you know, I think that then a lot of people missed out on saying, "Hey, let's throw pro ball on here. Let's have RP share. Let's sponsor this guy, or let's give him some money and let's get an ad on there." Some people took off. Bad Boys Toys has always been a sponsor and a supporter of Traumahead. He's made commercials. He's sponsored us on tons of different things. But he's been one of the big ones that's really helped us out a lot. There's been a couple other people. Milk Call from Brimstone. He really promoted Jeff and Traumahead as well. He helped us out, and you know, just little bits along the way, but not full bore sponsorship of saying, "Hey, let's get your camera crew out there." So we would make a bunch of DVDs, sell them, make enough money to come back and set up at the next event. And that's all we were doing, basically just barely making it, getting around, but constantly trying to have a DVD from the past event out and ready.
Shoot, DVDs, man. When I started watching it was VHS only.
Oh, I still have a lot of VHSs. I know. It's hard for me to talk about the VHSs because that was grassroots paintball. I mean,
Yeah.
that was back for us being a commentator, listening and watching the game on a camera or on the TV. Rewind it, then commentate the things that you saw happen. That was our idea of like editing. Do you understand? It's like, oh man, go back. I gotta say
It
something.
paved the way, dude. It paved the way for what we have. So,
Right,
you know,
right.
it's just it's incredible, man. I think it really inspired what we have today. You know, what we have today is Maddie Marshall talking live on Go Sports, and
And
your
I
name
don't
still
miss
comes
a
up.
beat of it, dude. I do not miss a beat of it. I love it from the time they start broadcasting. I do not stop. Even at my work, I click it on, I watch it. I have 3 screens. I watch the whole entire thing every day as long as they're talking and have games on. And Maddie is wired for sound. He's
Yeah.
absolutely the voice of the NXL. I mean,
Yep.
he has everything so smooth and so down that there's no stuttering. And you know what I mean? He can tell you exactly how everything's laid out. And, you know, him doing it so many events, staying on top of it. That's how you become the master of the microphone. And that's how I think
Yeah.
it is. So,
I'd
but
like
yeah,
to see you on a broadcast with Maddie. That'd be
I'd
cool.
like to do it, but it's so hard for me to keep up with him. I feel like I gotta be the Rich Telford side of it. He
Oh,
has to be
totally.
the
Yeah.
serious guy. I have to just be the guy who points out a lot of crazy things that are happening out there,
Yeah.
and maybe in my own words, tell him I think how it's happening.
Yeah. You need the funny commentary. Like you can't
Yeah,
just have
for
all
sure,
serious like stats and stuff like that, which
for sure, for
Maddie is an
sure,
expert at, you know. But Rich Telford does
100%.
brings the comedic relief, which I think is necessary, you know.
Hey, he did it with me in Traumahead, man. We would go to his
Yep.
house, fly to Cali, that go out in his downstairs in his living room. There'd be people in there. We'd put up some DVDs or play some videos, and then there it would be, and we just be commentating. It was a good time, and he really lightened up the mood. He
Yeah.
was a good person to do it with as well.
Well, Danny, you've been playing paintball for a long time. You've played with some amazing teams. Tell us about a memory that really stands out for you in paintball.
Oh God, there's a couple of them, but maybe me and Tommy Cole, Spesh, Steve Pizek, and another guy, CJ, played a 5-man, and it was just, I've never played with Tommy. He called me Manny the whole entire time because he thought my name was Manny. And we won $5,000 up there. But it was
Nice.
like a great time because it was at Robin Adcock's field, and his boys play. Jacob and Caleb play for the Saber Wolves, and they were both young boys then. Do you know? I mean, like kids. I felt like, and then to
Yeah.
see them come up, that's a good time for me. Like I honestly look forward to seeing those two boys every event that I go to. I like them. You understand? I look forward to seeing them. And Tommy, he's a character, man. So we have fun. It was a good time. A real good memory I have that didn't involve me. It actually was back when it was maybe the 98 or 99 World Cup Dynasty Aftershock controversial ending.
Yeah.
Aftershock thought they won. They were celebrating, and then out of nowhere, that comes back that Dynasty won, and I was there for both of the camps. You understand? I was there with Jeff's eyes to see Dynasty celebrating. I was there with the Aftershock guys to see them from being like on a super high cloud to
Mm.
literally going to the bottom of the earth, and
Yeah.
the opposite for Dynasty.
Yeah.
That's particular event. I've got Todd Adamson's jersey, I have Angel Fregosa's jersey, and I
Whew.
got Oliver Lang's first jersey because he hadn't played with Dynasty yet. He still played with the Ironman. The next year was his first year that he played with Dynasty. So whatever year that was back then, so I had those jerseys, and I felt like, yeah, that was a great time in paintball. That was a memory that I had. Didn't involve me winning or losing, but I
Right.
got to see some of the best emotion in paintball, and that was then. So I also have a good one where Rich and Maddie Marshall were playing. It came down to those two on 5 or 6, and they shot everybody out. And at the end, Rich said, "Help me, Maddie." And as soon as he did, Maddie just reached in the inside, shot the guy out, and won. They won the 2-on-5 and won the game. And I can't remember if I put them on to the finals or so close to it. And so that was another good one for me. A lot of mine come from seeing the other games, I guess, and being right there.
Well, that certainly counts. I mean, that's what paintball's all about, man. It's like it's these great moments of tension, and they end up either in triumph or failure. And even as a spectator, there's special memories, you know?
Right, right. So giving Mikey Bruno a high five and a giant hug on the out of bounds move in Boston might have even been my highlight of, because back then he was who I looked up to. And I played in the back and in the middle, and I liked Garrett Noblet. I think he's an amazing paintball player. But if I look back at those times, it was guys like Richie. It was guys like Lane Wright. It was Billy Saransky. He's one of the best players to ever play. He
Mm,
still is. He's still competing. And I said
yep.
earlier about Todd. Todd Adamson to me is the true GOAT right now. He has played at every level, and he's won
Yeah.
at every level, and he still is. So that
Yeah.
there's no chance of like, and he's kind of like, I mean, he's super, super gamey. You understand? He's ready to go, but he's not super loud braggart. He don't strut around like a rooster, and like he's the man. He puts together a great team. He has a great strategy. He knows what to do to win, and he still
Yep.
wins. So to me, he's one of my all-time favorite paintball players. I mean, yeah, sure.
He might be better now than he ever was.
I think
Because
it's
he's actually more athletic now, you know?
way more athletic, and his paintball IQ is on the next level. So
Yeah.
when you get him, so I just saw a post not long ago about Rodney and Glenn, and they're like, I said, yeah, they're a couple of Jedis out there. They're basically, when you put those two guys together, something good is going to come up, dude. You
Yeah,
understand? They're going to figure out a line or a lane or a system or some kind of plan, and they're going to put it to use, and they're going to do something good with it.
for
I think
sure.
they're Jedis. Todd
Yeah.
is a Jedi master. Do you understand? Like he taught them. I feel like they want to learn from Todd. Yeah,
Yeah,
even though that's not. I mean, you understand. I think they've been around the world the same. Todd's just a little bit on another level with his gameplay and his field IQ. So, I
definitely.
think all around he's one of the best. But I look up to Ronnie Simpkins. There's so many ways that he is good, and if you see him play from watching a lot of Traumahead footage and hours of editing and rewinding and seeing and listening, Ronnie is a very, very good paintball player. His talk, his field knowledge of knowing where everybody is out there, his shot. He puts a couple balls. If he hits them, he know he hits them. He doesn't even
Mhm.
bother with it. He doesn't need to bonus ball him up and stuff. Ronnie knows when he hits them, and I feel like he's a really, really good paintball player. I had a
Certainly.
long talk with a couple of my teammates on the ride to Chicago, and out of the car, we all agreed that to us, he's one of the best back players that's played. I mean,
Do
he's
you
still
think that do you think we're re-entering the golden age of paintball, or do you think that's just the golden age was the golden age?
no, no, I don't think that. Uh, I think we were there when it came from the woods and it went out and Rennick broke the barriers when he made hyperball, and everybody was like that hyperball, that Badlands hyperball field, it was everything you dreamed about because you
Mm,
went to Vegas, you played in some sticks and some brush and a couple of piles of hard concrete sand. You understand? It was just, and you would go all around, and then you would go to the Badlands, and there that field was, that giant ass tree in the middle of it. You understand? It was just like everything that like, you're like, ah, you could shoot from one side of the field to the other. There was no trees, and it almost made you change your game up, of course. And
oh, for
then,
sure.
right, and then you go to Pittsburgh, the original mounds. Look at the '97 Iron City, Heavy D and Todd Adams in the back, just chugging along. Look at some of the old ones with Rich Telford in the back to back with somebody, and there's 30 pods laying on the ground. There's 30.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, those guys were doing it. And then airball. Who didn't mind tripping over those tubes connecting the bunkers together? We all thought it was like the next level.
Yeah.
Glue them all together. Let's play. And then when Milt came out with the self-contained air bunker, it changed everything, man. That just being able to blow it up, different shapes, take them to anywhere and build their field, it was
Mm,
amazing. And I thought that's us being able to see that transfer from the woods to that little bit of hyper ball to the new air ball to this. We saw that transfer. But the golden age, I think, is maybe not the golden age. I probably shouldn't say that. The resurgence of paintball that people love,
yeah.
and the paintball that brought me off the couch or out of the house. If it wasn't for Spesh Robinson, I wouldn't be playing right now. First of all,
Mm,
Spesh is the one when OBR broke up. Tony Pizik was left with no team. He was a 58-year-old man. His team came to the point where they probably didn't think that he was ready to play anymore, and it was time for him to actually step back and be a role. And Tony wasn't ready for that. So in his mind, he was like, I'm just going to start another team. I knew Spesh from Missouri Magic. And he knew me from playing at Black River in North Carolina. When I went up to the NAPSas, we played Farside. I took a 10-man up there. I took a 5-man as well. It was only my second, I'd only been playing for like a year and a half, almost basically 2 years. and we went there. Far Side beat us in the 5-man. We took second, and we beat them in 10-man and took first. And so I saw Spesh there, and I talked to him, and then I saw him in the Nashville indoor and a couple different times. And so he called and asked me if I would be interested on playing a new team and starting a new team. So we did. I grabbed a front guy from North Carolina. We went to Virginia and played in an old ice cream dairy indoor and just
Huh.
destroyed everybody there. And so that's how I got to play for OBR. And we're talking about paintball great moments in my memory. The best moment, honestly, for probably everything is him doing that. And Tony had a full sponsorship for an amateur team. He bought our
Mm.
plane tickets, he paid our entry fee, he paid our paint, our entrance, gave us all free equipment. That was from a Plan the Eclipse gear down, all the JT things, everything. We were full board, professionally sponsored amateur team, I felt like. And then the first time we played together was in Vegas, and we destroyed them. We beat
Hmm.
everybody there. And so I felt like that going there playing with Gary Arbaugh, he was the captain of Lockout, Mark Bolitnikoff. We had Weasel from Detroit. We just had so many players that were new and nobody really realized. And then, when OBR broke up, every player on that team went to a professional team. So when the
Hmm.
amateur OBR broke up, we all went, and OBR turned pro. We just didn't do very good that year. That year when we left, every player went to a pro team. Not one player stayed. I think 4 or 5 guys went to the All Americans alone.
Huh.
So that was a
That's
pretty
definitely a mark of a good amateur team is when they
right,
all go
right,
pro. That's how
right.
you
And
know.
I saw the history of paintball that I didn't really realize, but OBR was the winning amateur team back then for all the way total till they basically moved the leagues and stopped, broke OBR up and everybody started playing different things. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was a good time in paintball to me. And Spesh called me back to play with the All A's with mechanical, and he was like, "Hey, want to play some paintball? All mechanical, let's go." And so I did. From that second, I have not looked back, dude. I
Yeah.
won't. Yeah, I love it. I won't quit playing. You're gonna have to beat me
Yeah.
out.
Man, that's what brought me back to paintball as well. I stopped playing in 2006 when the NXL was going, and it had been going for a few years, and I was out, and then I found out that there's these 10-man mechanical tournaments, and that's the paintball that I fell in love with. That's what I
That's
watched
right.
on Traumahead.
That's right.
And, from the very first event, I played with the OG Ironman, and I got to play with guys that I only heard about, Dirk
Yeah,
Gadberry and J-Man.
yeah.
And I was like, ever since then, I've just been hooked. I've been going to every single one. I love it, man.
Right.
I love
Dude,
it.
the Iron Man, do you know how many times I could not wait to see a magazine with them come out? Do you understand? Like I felt like and to me, by doing the videos, when I would see a West Coast teams come over, they played with aggression and communication, and and then we would go to the Midwest, and Aftershock would just run like total domination. Like they just ran down the field, and you couldn't get away from the hail of paint. You felt like you would start shooting at a guy, and and that was like Ralphie, Robo. Those were back in the Aftershock days that I know. Billy, when
Mm.
Ryan Williams, those guys were dirty. Like I mean, they would beat you up and then beat you up again. You know what I mean? If you have anything to say about it. When Tim Brown and all those guys were on the field, and Ryan and Rennick, they were all just spud, great team. And then like you go to the All Americans, they were super technical. You
Yeah.
understand? I just felt like they were just like chess players, the all
Mm.
A's and Billy and Adam and Graham and they're guys that they had playing back then. They had a lot of great guys as well. So the Tui I thought was maybe the first frontliner in paintball. The guy who no matter what, when you played, he was going to the 50 and he was going to be there.
Yeah.
And then I thought a lot of teams had to have an answer for Tui. He was just another kind of player. Those are guys that I think I remember a lot from those days of paintball.
Yeah. Like everyone knows where he's going, but they still can't shoot him. He still makes it there anyways.
Yeah, I say it right now. Our coach Paul Desarn says it. We're going to tell you we're about to do a pick and roll on you. you're not going to be able to stop us doing a pick and roll. It doesn't matter. If we tell you we're getting ready to do it, you stopping it. It just doesn't happen. It's super hard. And I felt like back then to look at those style of plays, and you could literally see those teams, different styles.
Hmm.
Going back to the editing room, watching it and rewinding hundreds of we did. So I just thought, being able to break their players down and be able to see who was really doing what and making things. And then people who brought players from the West Coast to the East Coast, like Danny Love, Billy coming from out
Yep.
West, coming there, it made a big difference, man. Building good teams and bringing those types of plays to other areas.
Yep. Well, earlier you mentioned you had a pretty cool jersey collection. Anything
And
anything you want
I
to show
do.
us?
I do. I have two of them. I actually have three right here, and I mentioned them earlier. So I have an original. It's a Chino Carvajal from Rage.
Oh,
It's
nice.
OG as you can get.
Wait, show it up. Show it up. Let me see.
Here
Let me see.
we go. Here
Oh
you go.
yeah, with
Pretty-
Scarface on
pretty
there.
sick. Yeah, and then I know back then they didn't give them away, but now they're remaking them and reselling them, the exact
Oh,
same jerseys. So yeah, and here's a great player. This guy I feel like has probably been overshot more than any frontline paintball player that's ever played paintball. That up until the times that I can remember, X ball and the no limit semi, electronics, 7-man Huntington Beach days. This guy still was grinding it out and taking 50 shots to the face, and he to me is was like humble. He was someone that you never talked. He came to the event, he played, he went home. Do you understand? He had a whole nother life other than paintball. And when he came, he killed, he absolutely destroyed people, and he went home. And he was a winner. And I have two of his jerseys. This one is Ryan Williams from
yes.
the Ironman. And I feel like he absolutely is a destroyer of souls. He's taken many people's, sent them to the pack into the dead box. And when he went to the Ironman, this was, I'm pretty sure, his first. Yeah, it was. It was his first, I think, year playing for them. And so I wanted that jersey really bad to go with his Aftershock jersey. And I caught him and ended up getting this one. And like I said, you can go back to tons of horror tapes. I mean, and it's good with the vinyl still on you understand that type of jersey. It's just
People don't know that's how they were made. Some guy
right.
in the warehouse would press those names on, print them out in the computer. The
That's
vinyl would cut, and
exactly right. That's exactly
yeah,
right. And this one means a lot because I just ran in and got. I told you I have a lot of them, and they're in tubs that are categorized from some teams, mostly teams, but a lot of times events and years. So I know that I have a lot of the original Aftershock jersey guys, and I have lockout, which nobody has lockout things because they wore mock neck black t-shirts, and
exactly.
so once they wore out, that was it. The thing about the Dirt Rockers are when they played, they would throw a bunch of their crap in the corner of the hotel room, and my uh you know paintball, like, I can't let that go. And so I
Yeah.
would just get it and I would take it. I didn't care if I had to put it in 3 trash bags to get it home. You understand? I was taking that home with me, dude. So but yeah, man, my probably one of my favorite jerseys and one that really means a lot, and it was also a big time win, was the GOAT, and it's an
Oh my
orange
gosh,
Adamson shock.
that's special.
Yeah, it's super sick. It means a lot to me, man. Like I said, I don't know if Todd understands how much like I value his play game, but the way he does it, his
Yeah,
attitude, his nonstop drive. He's everything that I feel like that you want to be in a paintball player, and he's gritty and grimy as hell. You understand? Like, I swear I shot him in Chicago. I swear I shot him in Chicago. You know?
Yeah,
And
you stepped out. You stepped out on the tape there, and
yeah, I
we
was like,
thought you got
come
him. You know,
on, come. I thought I shot him when he got Maddie, but you know, paintball is
he
gritty, and that's
wiggles.
what,
He
yeah,
wiggles, and
and
what
that's what I
happens?
said. That's what I said, and so that's another reason why I feel like, honestly, man, he is one of my favorite paintball players. Uh, Again, man, it's hard for me to get away from Ron Simpkins. It's just because I've seen him do so many amazing things, and I've seen him get penalized. I have seen him get shock penalized. I've seen him just everything. I've seen him literally just shoot the living shit out of people, and I mean annihilate them. But in the real world, his game and his paintball IQ, seeing what's unfolding on the field, knowing who he has to send or what he has to do. He's just a good paintball player. There's a lot of really good ones too, man. I don't mention frontliners very often because I play in the mid or the back. But
Yeah.
I think Shane Howe is a great paintball player. He's been a
Yep.
frontliner since the day I knew him. Since the day I've ever known him.
Still doing it.
Billy Bernacchia.
Oh man.
He's absolute killer, man. He's done
Yeah.
the same job every time. It goes back to what we were just talking about on the pick and roll. So Billy's going to the snake. Billy's going to the snake,
Exactly.
everyone.
Yeah.
So he's still going to the snake. It's like, come on, man. Those dudes, Colt Roberts, he's been killing people for so long. When he was on the Naughty Dogs, I felt like he was a very underrated. Like, to me, he was like a John Richardson of underrated. The dude who goes out there, he's a complete killer. He doesn't creep around. He just is
Mm.
out there doing it, man. You know, understand?
Yeah.
He just does it, and he doesn't need notoriety to do it. John Richardson was that exact same way. Colt Roberts is that way with the Naughty Dogs. And, Brian Smith, Agent Smith, he's been doing that same killing game since I know he was a young boy. I've seen him since he first came to Team Strange, and he's still destroying people right now on the highest pro level. He very seldom rotates out when it's an important game, does he?
Yeah.
He's in every game,
Yep.
and so when I see guys like that I know since they've been boys and they're grown men and they're absolutely still destroying people, doing the same thing. Not saying, oh yeah, remember when he played up front? Now he's in
Yeah.
the back and he destroys people. Not like Greenspan. He's been in the back his whole time and he's always destroyed people. I
Yep.
can't It's hard for me, dude, because if you say Dynasty, I can't even tell you. Like, they're all so damn good, man, that it's hard to say, oh yeah, he's not one of the best in the world. He's not
Yeah.
one of the best in the world. If someone has a list and Alex and Ryan Greenspan are on that list, they've had their head in their ass. They've been
Oh
living in a
yeah.
cave, dude. So those guys aren't on your top list. You're crazy. Oliver was a great paintball player, and he wasn't. He still probably is a killer paintball player. My thing is those guys have never taken a break. They've
Yep.
always done the same, and they've always. And Yosh, I can't take anything. Like, he has been on top right with them, and he's constantly. Those guys are just they're the best, some of the best in the world. They are the best in the world, man. If I
Well,
make
I
a
mean,
list,
you look at any all-star team, and it's got
they're
like
on them.
at least 60% dynasty players.
They're on them. They're on them. So
Yeah.
not last year, but the year before, I heard some paintball heads, and they were talking. They were talking about Harrison Fry, and they weren't then. And then I said something with Paul, our coach, and he was there, and he said, "Well, what do you think about Harrison Fry?" And so three of these guys are really big heads in paintball. And they said, yeah, he's overrated. He doesn't he's good, but he's not that good. He's really green and this and that. And then Dynasty picks him up. So that tells me, and that's just the off season. You understand? And so I feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, those guys don't really know paintball because Dynasty just doesn't pick up any
Exactly.
guy that even the top pro players, they don't just go pick them up, dude. They just don't go cherry pick other teams. They just don't do that. They have special personalities that have to fit in with their
Mm-hmm.
winning style of paintball, and Archie is phenomenal. Marcelo, he's phenomenal. Look, I think Chris Shear is a great paintball player, man. Come on. He destroyed people with Revo, right? Then he comes
Yep.
over. Is that where he came from, right? And then he comes over there. He fits in perfect with their personality, right? They said he's an attorney, so he's not brash and all that.
Yeah.
Harrison's not like that. He's calm and cool. I did some of that commentating with him in Chicago there, and I saw him, and he's just you see his off field. He doesn't have crazy antics. He's not running around like an
Right.
idiot. He's a pro paintball player, man. And that's what those
That's
dynasties
it.
saw that in them if they wouldn't have picked them two up at one time. You understand, the same year. And so I just feel like that goes to show you dynasty, Alex, Ryan, Yosh, whether it's SK or whatever, those guys have a really great paintball mind, and they're not just going to bring anybody aboard. Whether they're a straight killer or not, they have allegiance and loyalty. They also have standards and morals that they want the person to live up to and play up to. And it's
Yep.
hard to fit that role, man. Like we said earlier, I think they're the best. So
Yeah. They run a tight program, that's for sure. And I don't think Harrison is overrated at all. I mean, I think he's
100%. He's a
yeah.
great paintball player, and he's nothing but a sponge. He
Yep.
absorbs and absorbs. You watch him out there when they're doing fields and walking the fields. He's analyzing. He gets down. He looks at angles. He gets back. I mean, really, he's a good paintball player, man. And that's what I
Yeah.
said. I thought he was a good paintball player as well. And so I just thought by hearing those guys saying, it's like, yeah, you're not up to par. Maybe that's why their teams don't win like Dynasty does, because they have just another thought process on what talent is
Sure.
and what a good player would be to fit into their program. You always hear about those people that come in and just cause turmoil, and then other players talking about them. And, the coach or the team owner's like, listen, dude, stay in your lane. Well, as
Yep.
soon as they say that, it automatically makes ripples in the pond. It's like, man, why is he doing that? Why would he say that to me? I've been here for this long. Do you understand? It's in a real team player's like, hell yeah, we got Harrison or we got Archie here. I don't mind setting out a couple rounds, man, a couple spins. Let this dude get in there, take us to the top. If he's the one that's going to do it, let's do it. You understand? But
Yeah.
that's how some teams are. Team Smoke's a family, man. And so that's basically how we are. And I like winning, and we all do. But you adapt and you figure out who's going to fit into your program, and you move on. And we've tried out a few pros and some other guys from the like pro paintball players, and we've got them down to a couple of guys that fit in and we like, and that's the ones we're going to stick with.
Hmm. Danny, what are you most thankful for that paintball's given you?
Dude, it's probably given me something in my life to be consistent, and something that I think friendships come and go in your regular life because you work, you move, you do this and that. Paintball is a consistent. When I
Yeah.
come there and I see people, there's a lot of people that I see, and as soon as I see them, I smile. Rosie, Andy Horvath, uh Will, I mean Ronnie, there's Rocky. There a lot of people. As soon as I see him, I have a smile on my face. Brian McDaniels from the farm, Adam Smith, Kevin Fillers. Those people, I don't have to see them but one time. And as soon as I see them, it's a good time. Do you understand? Like
Mhm.
that, and it'll be 3 months or 2 months more, and I look forward to seeing them all again. People that aren't on my team, they're all my brothers. We talk on a regular basis, and we kind of try to see each other. But the paintball community and people itself, that's what makes me like it. I mean, that's what makes me get pumped up to go. I get excited to see what people's stories are. I get excited with families. We have a guy on our team, Todd Brown. For the past three Chicago's, brother, he's brought a new baby. You understand? He has 5 kids, my man. He started with 2 and he brought 1 baby. Now every year, the same time in Chicago, they come with a brand new baby. So the Smoke team is a family, and we call him Baby Maker in our team chat. But yeah, you understand? Yeah, we're a family, man. So we have
have
a good time, dude.
How do you want to be remembered in paintball?
It's hard, man. I don't think I'll ever get away from the trauma head, man. I think probably maybe what we talked about earlier, dude. Probably being remembered as the guy's voice that you heard when you put in a tape, or that you didn't know what he looked like and you put a face to that voice then. And now when I go to fields, I cannot go to one and talk on the sidelines to somebody, or somebody will hear me and then they introduce themselves and tell me how I changed their life in some weird way by watching Traumahead Sportz when they were young or when they were playing paintball. And I think a lot of them were like, how much they appreciated it, man. And Jeff doesn't get anywhere near the credit he deserves. He's the brainchild behind it, but yeah, unfortunately, my voice is the one that powered us through, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at all the things that where you're at in life right now is as a result of a series of everything that you've experienced and consumed up to that point.
That's
So
right.
here I am with a channel called Paintball Nerd, and no doubt that Traumahead and your voice and Jeff's work, with Traumahead, shaped and molded me who I am today. So it's
Nice.
it's it's tough to say, would Paintball Nerd exist without Jeff and Traumahead and Danny Manning? I don't
Nice.
know.
I really
I
feel
don't
good about that, dude.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Gives me some
So,
good vibes right there, brother.
man, I appreciate you so much, Danny. I appreciate your time here. Is there anything that you'd like to part with for the paintball community?
Oh man, just I think as I saw where I know we have some different leagues and some different things with mechanical going on, you know what I mean? I'd like to see some event where we could all get together, and play some. I know for us it's tough for the World Cup, man, because I'm a guide, so I got a bunch of people hunting, and so that time of the year is kind of tough for me to get away. My goal now is to get a one spot, one time play with Extreme Rage. So let's see if we can't pull some strings out there and make something happen, Todd. I don't need to be a pod guy, but I would like to play it. If that's a World Cup 7-man or 10-man, I'm there. So,
There
but
you
yeah,
go.
that's basically it. I just want us to keep on getting down and playing. Hopefully, the ICPL will keep taking us that direction, and I don't mean to go like to you back, but hopefully they'll have some event where when you leave, you can and you win or take second or third, you can have your paint bill paid or get a little bit
Yeah,
of money off of your hotel or just whatever, because I
make
feel
it
like
more accessible.
right, it's pro level, and I mean, I know Tommy has bills to pay and all that takes a lot of money to run, but I just thought that would be like, yeah, I love going there. We still grind it out for the medals and the rings, there's no doubt. But them dangling a little bit of cash in front of the donkey, I'm pulling the cart, buddy. Do you understand? So, yeah, stuff your game up, Tommy Cole. Let's make something happen here.
Awesome.
I
Thank you, Danny.
appreciate it, brother. No problem, man. Really, I really appreciate you having me on here, man. And this has been awesome for me, brother. You take it easy.